Sometimes people say to me, "You're not still making clouds, are you?" But I think I'll be making clouds for the rest of my life. Between me and the earth beneath, a border, a boundary beyond all belief, a blanket, a veil, the story of heaven. It's able to take me right out of myself when I need to be lost in them, blinded and numb, frozen, suspended, weightless and young. My name is Rob Good. I was born in London, but grew up in Oxford. I went to study sculpture at the University of Leeds, and then I moved to London and did a master's at Chelsea College of Art and Design. And after that, I really got into carving stone. I then decided to move to Italy, and I've been living in Italy now in the same area in Pietrasanta for about 7 years, and I'm still carving stone. When you begin working with stone, it just becomes quite addictive, and people don't do much else. I've got 1,001 ideas to make more stone sculptures. I'm discovering different types of stone, and I've recently been starting to combine different colours of marble. This is only the second time I've made a sculpture in granite, and I won't lie, it is very hard. But, I mean, it's great. Granite is wonderful because it's so hard. You know, you don't have to worry about the fragility of it. And for public sculpture, it's fantastic. It won't become damaged. But I've got to say, I love marble. There's something about the quality of marble, how it sort of interacts with light, that granite doesn't do quite so much. It's physically very hard work. I mean, there are days when I think, what the hell am I doing? I used to have a nice office job. But it's wonderful, you know, you go home at the end of the day, it's absolutely shattered and very tired, but that's kind of a wonderful feeling, and you accomplish so much. It serves a purpose, you know, these pieces of stone will last all of my lifetime, they'll last for 1,000 years. So I started making smaller pieces, and I still do make small pieces, but I want them to be larger and larger. You know, the dream is that you have huge pieces that can sit in the middle of cities or have a big presence in a park or something. I do think there's a kind of pure experience in enjoying art without the formality of a gallery or a museum. I think it's wonderful. I like the idea that art is fun and art can be a game. And for me, the sculpture's finished when you see little children running around the sculpture and playing on it and things. I took part in my first symposium last year. I went to Saudi Arabia, to Riyadh, for a month. I just fell in love with the idea of symposiums. And, you know, you spend all your time as an artist with your own ideas, working for long periods of time, often by yourself, making a piece of art. And then suddenly it's terrifying. You put yourself out in the gallery or in an exhibition and just hope the rest of the world understand and get it. And I guess that's, again, why things like sculpture symposiums are so appealing, because you're not by yourself. I mean, of course, when you're working, you're by yourself, but constantly you're talking with other artists, sharing ideas, and that's very special. I want to inhale those cold water vapours, to find Dionysus in there and reshape us, wrap his self with myself and then dissipate us, float free from this aviation apparatus, set free from a mind that cannot comprehend, unshackled from earth where we're cursed to spend our days looking up, overcast by their shadows. My work, I like it to be quite poetic, and I like the idea that art can allow you to escape from your life for a moment, from all the political problems of the world or your personal problems or your thoughts. And so I guess that's why I like clouds. I think they offer a bit of adventure. And I guess it's just that clouds, you know, they sail everywhere. They move all over the world. Wherever you go on the planet, we may have different landscapes. We may be in the desert or in the forest or in the city. And clouds are really the one constant thing. Clouds fascinate me. I mean, I think it's very interesting. They're the one thing we all grew up looking at clouds and imagining something else. Like, oh, there's an elephant, there's a dragon, there's the face of Bob Marley. Well, for a lot of people, clouds symbolize heaven. They offer this idea of the sublime. They're the one thing that we can never reach. I don't know, I think there's something quite romantic about clouds. I like the challenge of taking heavy, permanent material like stone and marble and trying to create something that's light and fluffy and feels fleeting or ephemeral. I was always drawing at a very young age. Art was always the one thing that I was excited about. Ever since I was young, I wanted to be an artist, and I never really questioned it. But of course, it's not easy to make a living from art. So after I graduated, I went into the family business for a while. My parents had a big printing company, and I did that for a bit, for about 3 years, and that was long enough for me to realise that I never wanted to work in an office, and I needed to be creating and to be creative. So I quit that job and decided to focus full-time on making art. Sometimes I write ideas down. Sometimes the best ideas come after a bottle of wine. So then I have to write them down because I won't remember them in the morning. Sometimes I sketch them. I always, everywhere I go, I have a sketchbook and a notebook in my bag. You never know when an idea will come. So you have to be ready to catch it when it comes, I think. I want to look down and to know what my dad knows, to know all the secrets the universe holds, to be part of their stories, the colour of gold, to feel very young but to think very old. Sometimes I start with a sketch, a drawing, sometimes I will make a clay model, or sometimes you just go straight into the piece of stone. Sometimes in my studio in Italy, I will take a piece of stone, I will look at the sky and take a pencil and quickly sketch a cloud on it and then start carving. And of course, before I'm 5 minutes into the carving, the cloud has disappeared and moved on. So then I let my imagination fill in the gaps. Yeah, it's a fun way to work. And sometimes I will have the clay model that I've made next to me while I'm working on the stone, but I always allow it to change. Sometimes that's just practical, you'll be working on a piece of stone, you'll get halfway through it and realise there's a defect and you have to change your ideas a bit. But it's not just that, I find it more interesting, keeping that idea of decision-making going the whole way through the process. Otherwise it gets a bit boring. For this symposium in Brittany, the theme is evolution. I'm still making clouds here, but I'm kind of making a progression of clouds. I thought about, the symbolism of clouds as thoughts or as dreams and how we progress our thoughts. And so I start with a simple cube. I've kind of, out of one piece of granite, I'm creating 5 layers. And the smallest first layer is a cube. And the second layer is a very simplistic cloud, almost like a cartoon. And then the next 3 layers get progressively more complicated or a bit more complex and slightly more realistic. And so it's this idea really that we progress in how we think as we age, as we grow up, as we go through life, and also how our ideas progress the more we think about them. So I guess it's kind of a philosophical take on the idea of evolution. But it's the evolution of a dream, the evolution of thought. Myself is out there in that cloudscape perspective, not in here trapped, all introspective with statements of thoughts that are only subjective. If it's all just a dream, may I never forget this.